For the purpose of this video, we are going to assume that the software for your instrument came on a USB thumb drive. If you received a CD-ROM with the software, the locations of files that you need to run will be somewhat different. Also, if your computer has a version of Windows other than Windows 7, some of the procedures may be slightly different. To begin setting up the software for the MUX, plug the thumb drive into an available USB port. Once the computer recognizes the drive, go to the Start menu and select Computer. If you have a My Computer icon on your desktop, you can use that instead. As you can see, Windows will see the thumb drive as two separate removable drives. One that is empty so you can save files to it if you want, and one with all of the RJL and third-party software and documentation. Double-click the RJL drive. Now, double-click on Other Software, RJL Systems, Segmental Q4, and run the MUX Setup program. At this point, your computer will likely display a message box asking if you're sure you want to install this program. Answer yes. For the most part, you should be able to just hit Next until the installer is finished. There are a couple places where you might want to change the settings of checkboxes, however. Checking this one will put an icon for the downloader on your desktop, and if this one is checked, your computer will automatically start the downloader once setup is finished. Now, connect the Q4 to your computer with the included USB cable. At this point, it does not matter if the Q4 is turned on or not. If Windows already knows what drivers to use to communicate with it, a tone will play. If not, you'll see a message box asking you to install the drivers for it. If that happens, cancel out of it, go back to the Other Software folder on the USB thumb drive, open the FTDI folder, and double-click on the CDM Setup program. Some black boxes will appear while it is installing the drivers. You can just sit and wait. Once that is done, unplug the USB cable and plug it back in. The tone should play, and you should not see the same message about needing to find drivers. Open the downloader if it is not already open. Either double-click the icon on the desktop if you created one, or go to the Start menu, All Programs, Quantum 4 Downloader, and then Quantum 4 Downloader. Let's start by telling the program how to find our instrument. Unplug the USB cable for the Quantum 4, then go to Options, Communication Settings. Click the drop-down next to Port and make note of which things are listed. Hit Cancel to close that window, plug the USB cable back in, and go to Communication Settings. Now when we hit the Port drop-down, there's going to be an entry here that wasn't here before. That's the one we want. Select it. Make sure that the speed is set to 38,400 and click OK. Now we're ready to start collecting data. To begin, we need a database. Go to the File menu, then Open Database. You might only use one database for all of the data you collect, or you might create a separate database for each study you collect data for, or for separate locations. Make sure that you are going to save the database in a place that makes sense. Most people will probably choose someplace under their documents library or in a folder on a network file server. Type in a name for the database that makes sense and click Save. Now you'll see a window titled People in whatever you called your database. Since I called it Test, it shows that here. For convenience, you might consider going to the Options menu and make sure that Remember Last Database has a checkmark next to it. With this setting active, every time we close and reopen the program, it will automatically reopen the last database we were working with. If you are only doing one study at a time, so all data goes in the same database, this will make things easier. If, on the other hand, you are collecting data for multiple studies simultaneously and want to make sure that the data stays separate, you might want to leave this setting cleared. To begin entering data for a test, enter some identifying information in the form at the bottom of the window. You can choose to enter the person's first name, last name, and/or a subject reference ID. You must fill in at least one of these fields, but it does not matter which one. Once you are done, click Select Person. Since we know that this will be the first test in the database for this person, click OK on this message. In this window, verify that the ID info is correct, and set the person's gender and frame size, and click OK. Now we see the list of tests already in the database for this person. The list is empty because we haven't saved any yet. Click Enter New Test to begin entering data. You'll notice that we can use either inches or centimeters for height, and pounds or kilograms for weight. You'll want to choose the right units first, before you type in the values. Otherwise, the program will assume that you want to convert the number you typed in to the new units. Don't worry about changing these settings repeatedly. Once you save a test with the pounds and inches, for example, these drop-downs will always default to whichever setting was last used. Fill in the fields on the left of the form. Comments are optional, as is activity level and target weight. These fields may not have any real meaning for you, depending on what sort of research you are doing. Since I have not already measured John Doe with the Segmental Q4, I'm going to click the Save Test button and go do that now. Here is John Doe, the test frame that comes with the Segmental Q4. The leads are all labeled with which hand or foot they should be connected to. If you are testing a real person, you will want to use the disposable adhesive electrodes that come with the instrument and use the standard placement as shown on the electrode placement card. Ensure that the cable is securely connected to the Q4 and turn it on. When it gets past the splash screen, it will show you the measurements for one of the zones. Press the On button to get to the main menu. Press the down arrow once so the blinking cursor is next to Get BIA Zone Data, and hit the On button again to run the test. It will take a couple of minutes to run through all 13 zones, so I'm going to speed this video a bit until it is done. Now that the data has been collected, we can go back to the main menu and view it on the screen if we want, but that is not necessary. Go back to the computer, make sure that the USB cable is plugged in and that the Q4 is turned on, and click the Get BIA Data from Analyzer button. It will read the data from the Q4, fill in the form, and ask us if we want to clear it from the instrument. Since it looks like it's right, we're going to hit OK. Save the test again to capture the BIA data. Now we can close it and go back to the list of tests for John. Now we see that there is one test in the database for him, the one that we just saved. Hit Close Person to go back to the list of people. Now we can either reopen John's history by double-clicking on him, begin entering a test for a new person, or exit from the program. At some point, you will likely want to export the records in a database to a spreadsheet. To do this, go to the Export menu. You can choose to export the entire database, or, if you have a test open, you can choose to export just that one test, or all tests for that one person. Select how much data you want to export, verify where the exported file is going to be saved, give it a name, and click Save. The exported file will be saved as a comma-separated values spreadsheet, so any spreadsheet program and many data analysis tools will be able to open it directly.